Hey folks, Nathan here. Welcome to Nate's Favorite Deck Building Games, and this time we continue our look at the Marvel Legendary deck building game with World War Hulk, a new release here in July of 2018. And I would point out that this apparently is a pretty hard one to come by. I was unable to put in pre-orders at most of my regular places because this thing sold out so quickly. I was able to follow a friend's advice and put in a pre-order at some place I had never heard of, but that he said was very reliable, only for, on release day, them to say, oh, we didn't get enough. Sorry, your order is canceled, here's your refund. Thankfully, I was able to find Cool Stuff Inc. through their Amazon store, selling a handful of copies of World War Hulk. So if you haven't been able to get your hands on this yet, hopefully they will make the print run extended and wind up producing more of these so that you can get your hands on this large set. It's one of the more popular sets, it seems, from one of the more popular, fairly recent Marvel storylines, based around, of course, the Hulk himself. We're going to take a look here at what's in the box, any new mechanics, and of course we're going to find that information here on the legendary World War Hulk rule sheet. Now, as expected, we have ourselves 15 new heroes of 14 cards each. They vary in terms of what faction they are with. We'll start with Crime Syndicate. We have ourselves Joe Fixit, Grey Hulk for the Crime Syndicate. We have two from Champions, which of course was actually the last of the small expansions that we got. So we have Amadeus Cho, and we have Namora. Then we have one from S.H.I.E.L.D., which is Rick Jones. We have a few here then from the Avengers, including Bruce Banner, Hulkbuster Iron Man, Scar, Son of Hulk, She-Hulk, and then Sentry. We then have several here who are from the new Warbound faction, which is a faction being introduced with World War Hulk because it ties into the story thereof. We have Kyra, I think is how you're supposed to pronounce her name. We have Heroim. We have No Name Brood Queen, Korg, Mayek the Unhived, and of course the hero of the story, Gladiator Hulk. Now there are conditions under which these characters can transform, as we will see. So along with these, we have 62 different transformed cards relating to each of these heroes, all marked with the name of the character, comma, transformed in red underneath the card name. Typically, you would store these with those heroes, but you would set them aside at the beginning of the game. We'll talk more about that in a moment. As you'd expect, we have 8 new scheme cards. In this case, we have World War Hulk, Subjugate with Obedience Discs, Shoot Hulk into Space, Mutating Gamma Rays, Gladiator Pits of Sakaar, Fall of the Hulks, Cytoplasm Spike Invasion, and then Break the Planet Asunder before we're back to World War Hulk. We have ourselves 4 new Special Bystander cards. We have Actor, Animal Trainer, Tourist Couple, and Triage Nurse. We have 3 new henchmen, and of course each henchman are 10 identical cards in a pack. So we have ourselves the Sakaran Hivelings as one set of henchmen, Cytoplasm Spikes, and Death's Heads. We then have 7 new villains, each of course with 8 cards each. So we have UFOs, not UFOs, but UFOs. We have Aspects of the Void, and I should note here, as you can see, that it's not just regular villain cards. Yes, traps are back from Legendary X-Men. We have Warbound, Sakaar Imperial Guard, Code Red, Intelligentsia, and Illuminati. Again, 7 villains, 8 cards each, but some of those cards, in some cases, are traps rather than regular villains. then what's a legendary game without masterminds or commanders, in the case of villains, to defeat? We have ourselves Illuminati, Secret Society. Again, you have a mastermind, then 4 mastermind tactics to go with it, but we will find that unlike our usual double-sided masterminds lately that have an epic version, instead we have a regular version and a transformed version, kind of like the transformed versions for the others. So we're not playing epic or regular, we're essentially playing with a regular and a souped-up version in the same game. So we have Illuminati, Secret Society, we have the Red King, we have General Thunderbolt Ross, we have King Hulk, Sakar's son, MODOK, and the Sentry. Now we have some new game mechanics built in here. One is going to be illustrative of a couple of them here, one card that is. So here we have Bruce Banner's card, Gamma Bomb Disaster. And it says here, Outwit, transform this into Savage Hulk Unleashed. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play this card out of my hand. I'm going to get my 2 recruit, and it's going to have that tech hero available there in case I'm going to do any combos, or the Avengers there in case I'm going to do any combos off of it. But Outwit basically means that you get whatever that Outwit action is, only if you can reveal, which means showing from your hand or your played cards, cards of 3 different costs. So 4, 3, and 2, or 0, 1, and 3, or whatever. As long as you can show 3 of different costs, then you can use that ability. You have Outwitted with that character who goes more by brains than brawn. Now in this case, if I successfully outwit, I also get to transform. So the way that the transform works is that I've taken my card out of my hand, I've played it, I've got my recruit, I've done whatever it says and got whatever its ability is, I've got my factions and my types in the case of needing combos. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of play from where I just played it and stick it into a pile with all of the transformed cards, just so it's out of the game. I'm going to flip through my stack of transformed cards and find the card that it's asking for, which in this case is Savage Hulk Unleashed. But after putting that other card, the original card, into the transformations pile, I am then going to put this one into my hand, and I can play it on that same turn. So in this case, I've already played a tech hero who's an Avenger and gotten 2 recruit. Now I'm playing another Avenger who's a strength hero. I get Smash 4, which is going to be another of our keywords here momentarily, and he goes into play as well. So essentially, I'm getting to play the original card, and as long as I meet the transform requirements and actually do the transformation, I get to then play the transformed card on the same turn. But the original is now out of play. It's going to be the transformed one going back into my discard pile and shuffling through my deck. Now, Smash here is another keyword. It's another one of these keywords we've seen before that has a number behind it. Smash is basically the idea that a Hulk is going to get what it needs to do and deal its damage regardless of the cost. Okay? So Smash means if you are willing to discard another card out of your hand, go ahead and discard it, and as a response to that, you're going to get whatever number it is, in this case 4, as an attack value. So if I've got another card in my hand, I can discard it, and all of a sudden this card gives me 4 attack. Now, a couple of little side notes here about some of the ones we just saw. Outwit actually plays into some of the masterminds, okay? So for instance, for MODOK, all cards' outwit abilities require 4 different cards instead of 3, so it makes it a little bit tougher. Also, you notice here for his Master Strike, each player who can't outwit MODOK, in other words, who can't show cards with 3 different costs as a reveal, or in this case, because of that, 4, gains a wound, then MODOK transforms. Right? So there are conditions under which our masterminds, that also goes to transform, can transform into that other version. Okay? So we go from regular MODOK to MODOK, Network Nightmare. And each of our masterminds has some triggering circumstance that gives you this harder version that now you've got to deal with. We also have a keyword back from way back in Paint the Town Red, the first of the Spider-Man focused sets. We have Fight, Feast, and Feast, of course, means you're going to have to KO the top card of your deck when it happens. It's assumed that if you're playing this set, that if you run into the feast keyword from any other set you've mixed in with it, it's treated as fight, feast. We also have the keyword here, Wounded Fury. A Wounded Fury basically means that you're going to get a +1 attack for every wound in your discard pile at that point. But bear in mind, it's not just for the heroes. Some of our masterminds can do it too. Once King Hulk gets turned into his transformed version, he's got Wounded Fury also, and uses the number of wounds inside your discard pile to increase his power by 1 for each to make it harder to take him down, or his attack value, excuse me. We also have our cross-dimensional rampage back from Secret Wars. In this case, cross-dimensional Hulk rampage. Essentially, you get a wound if you can't reveal a Hulk card either from your regular reveal, which would be the cards you played or the ones that are in your hand, or from your victory pile. Our rules go into great detail as to which cards actually count as Hulks. She-Hulk, Scar, Joe Fixit, and so on and so on, which are basically different versions of Hulk-type characters. Nullbreaker of Worlds from Fear itself, and so on. But Bruce Banner, just as a Bruce Banner card before he turns into a Hulk, doesn't count because he doesn't have Hulk in the name, and so on. They give you all you need to correctly play with that mechanic. So another strong new set here for Marvel Legendary. Very Hulk-focused, in fact, pretty much all Hulk-focused, with the exception of a little bit of Champions and some other Avengers characters popping up, but primarily Hulk-focused. Some cool new mechanics added in, so sort of sacrifice to get certain mechanics to work, and of course a focus on transformation. That's pretty cool. We've seen that in other games like Ascension quite a bit, but not really something we've seen within Legendary all that much. So it's cool to see that, and of course, who better to lead us in a set that's going to focus on transformation than Bruce Banner, aka Hulk. We'll be back with more Legendary coverage as more sets and expansions are released.